previous video that we done on this famous flag, a lot of you guys asked me to react to this video. So here goes. If you are new here, hi, hello, welcome. If you're not new here, hi, hello, welcome. Subbing to this channel helps me a lot, guys. So to all you know who you are. Thank you. I'm interested to see this. Let's do it. Star Spangled Banner, as you've never heard it.
There was a lawyer once. His name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the National Anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church service.
Look at the size of that flag. Holy!
And we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means.
That's very true. You can actually apply that to basically any song on earth, though. You're singing along, you know the words to the song, but you never really feel or understand or even read the lyrics. So I absolutely love that I'm getting to learn this. This is sick. Because I've always kind of knew the words to this, believe it or not. But I've just never heard the story.
Let me tell you a story.
Tell me it.
Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict.
Here we go.
With the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange.
You know, I find it kind of crazy how times have changed and how just humans in general have kind of progressed in technology. Like, to think then that there was no internet, no other ways of means of communication other than literally writing something down and just hoping for the best that it reaches where it's supposed to reach. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? I always find that so interesting to, like, think about times before internet.
And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men.
Oh, no.
He said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter.
Why?
And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies.
Shit.
Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about...
Hundreds? Why do I feel like that's inaccurate? Didn't the last story tell us there was like 16 or something? 16 big boats? I feel like hundreds is maybe a exaggeration. Or am I wrong? Was it actually hundreds? This is another point I want to put across, and I actually hope I'm wrong, but there's a lot of these stories that kind of contradict the other story that's supposedly telling the same story, if that makes sense. So I want to know, is this story accurate? If there's any inaccuracies throughout the entire video, please do let me know in the comments, okay? Correct me and him.
He said the war is over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. He said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. and we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule.
Jesus
Francis Scott Key went
Christ.
down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says,
I wanted to know this. What are they shooting? Aren't they just shooting cannons? How are cannons lighting up the sky? They're just balls of... How are they lighting up the sky? I don't get it. Where's the fire coming from? Are they on fire? I don't know. What were the British shooting? I have absolutely no education in this, which is why I'm asking. I'd love to know.
Down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling. Every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb. And Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up.
I didn't know they could shoot bombs.
It's not down. The admiral came and he said, your people are insane. He said, what's the matter with them? He said, don't they understand this is an impossible situation?
Big balls.
Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees.
Okay.
The Admiral said, we have now
quote.
instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down. He said, we don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that. But he said, now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point. Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer. God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it. Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits.
Still standing.
And when hit had fallen. But men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there." Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner
I'm getting goosebumps again.
yet fly
I'm getting them.
and wave
Getting goosebumps again.
o'er the land of the free
And the home of the brave.
The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
It's very emotional.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars.
I'm sorry to interrupt this, but isn't it crazy now that I know a lot of you guys watching this know this story and know what the words mean, but I don't. But now, from now on in, whenever I hear this song played anywhere, I'm going to be able to listen to lyrics and that story is going to repeat in my head. I absolutely love that.
Through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets break through, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Guys, thank you so much for watching to this point. I absolutely loved that. What a great story. Great song. You know, at the end of the day, you've got a load of words there that mean a story, that mean something to the flag and to the American people. But the fact the song's an absolute banger as well. You gotta admit, it's a great song to sing along to. Guys, thank you. If you guys want me to react to anything, put it in the comments box down below, and I will see you later.